Body searching. Hello. Is this thing on? I'm just kidding. Hey, what's up? Welcome. Today we's getting down to business. There's some business that we need to take care of before we get to business. And I was shuffling these, and this card came out. So we'll see what it is. I also the King of Cups just popped into my mind because I was thinking about how the King of Cups was in reverse a while ago for me, and thinking about how oh cards are funny like that context how it's self-love, I think. And I'm thinking of like the queens as service to others and the kings as service to self. And I know it sounds a little bit backwards, but hear me out, right? The queen is known a certain way and the kings are seen a certain way, right? But in order for a queen to be known a certain way, she has to externalize that for other people to get that image of her. And the king acts in, it's like, and it's not that the queen is necessarily trying to impress anybody, but it's like because the queen does what she does, people see her that way. And because the king goes about getting the things he wants in the ways that he gets it, then people see him that way. Anyway, it just felt like the kings are self and the queens are others, and it makes sense. Kings are about furthering their expanding their conquesty whatever, and queens are the one that the people go to or whatever. I don't know. Let's not make this unnecessarily long. We've got the two of orbs, the Nocturne. We see the North Node world and the South Node world with the Ouroboros biting its tail in between. When Ouroboros releases its tail, the bridge is broken. What's at the bottom of the deck? Oh, the warrior, the sun. Here comes the sun. Do do do. I was actually thinking of the sun card for some reason. Don't remember why, honestly. Bottom up of the deck over here, Ace of Swords. This is why I was thinking of the sun card because when I was shuffling, the Father of Cups. No, first it was the Emperor. I cut to the Emperor, and then the Emperor was with the sun, and then it was with some other stuff, and then the Ten of Swords came out, and then the Father of Cups came out with the Ten of Swords. Anyway, I saw the sun at the cut with the Emperor, and that's why I was thinking about the sun. So I already gave it. Ooh, the sun. Oh, Two of Pentacles and the Emperor. Sorry, because I put that. Where that sun is? There it is. The sun and the Empress. The sun is hiding behind that. It's in the New World. Sun is lighting up two skies right now, but we only see one of them. Propeller Seeds just came into my mind. Propeller Seeds by Imogen Heap, and it actually popped into my head before I started recording yesterday or the day before. Propeller Seeds, Corridor Seeds, talk on, walk out. Do. It took me a minute, my mind was on other things. That's a lot. That felt like a lot. Also, I did see the King of Pentacles, Archangel of Mysteries, was already at the bottom of the deck. Ooh, the High Priestess and the Two of Swords. I can't not take these. Especially in this deck, these energies for me are connected as a reader. As a reader. As an individual who looks at pieces of paper with ink on them. And I guess right off the bat, this is a higher knowing of what we need to do in a certain situation, even before we know why we need to. And look, there's the sun in the world. Oh snap! I told you the sun is like lighting up two skies right now, but we only see one of them. It's like it's building that other dimension. And then there's the Two of Pentacles to confirm. That's the Nocturne. The two worlds come through. Paper and ink. I love paper and ink. Whoop, whoop. And then there's the star. Star is an energy of healing, right? So we heal into this new world. We make ourselves lighter. And then there's the Emperor with the star. It was with the sun before, now it's with the star. It's just saying that it's, we gotta get there. We gotta get there. But so this is us not knowing why we know what we know and not really being in a space to maybe trust it, but we're being asked to go with it anyway. It's something that defies logic and reason. It's something that is not counterintuitive, but is contra intuitive. I need to see what the stem contra means. Because there should be a stem that's the opposite of counter, right? Just like you have pro and anti. Let's see what contra means. That's my new favorite song. Got a lot to do, got lots to do. Oh no, got an attitude, got lots to do. I'm sorry. What does it mean to be a what is contra short for? Is contra a word? Let's go with this one. Preposition against, in opposition or contrast to. So yeah, contra and counter are basically the same. What's the opposite of counter? It's not just like pro, is it? Counter, antonym. Synonyms and antonyms. Y'all know that. Let's get a thesaurus. Wait. As an adjective, it means complimentary. Girl, I need help. 1 second. This is going to be longer than I thought, but that's fine. That's fine. Agreeing, harmonious, similar, concurring, same, equal, corroborating, corresponding. Oh, that's not what I wanted, but it's fine. I got one more search left in me, y'all, and then we just gonna call it. It's not important. Also, I think I discovered why I can't sleep lately. It's because I've been getting a lot of ideas. Let's call them downloads. Why not? I've been getting a lot of downloads when I'm laying down to go to sleep. And if I don't write them down or get them out, they keep me up. Because I got one last night. And I recorded it. And then it was like out of my brain. And I could sleep. I was like, oh. So I guess I'll start doing that. Like I said, well, that was on the Legacy channel at like 4 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning or whatever time it was in the morning. Oh, see that Ten of Swords came out. Bottom of the deck is the Six of Pentacles. The High Priestess and the Six of Pentacles. This is that Queen of Pentacles energy. As I've been talking about the Queen of Pentacles being the one who just intuitively knows what something needs to grow. And with the Queen of Swords, she doesn't necessarily have the same, she doesn't have the patience, she doesn't have the time, she doesn't really care. It's not her job to be the one to really nurture life, right? It's kind of sort of low-key her job to be the one that reaps it and the one that culls what is dead and dying, to make space for, something that will actually thrive in that space. But here we have the High Priestess and the Six of Pentacles. These are the seeds of prosperity that are sown in our minds, in our hearts, in our third eyes, in our intuitions, and everything else. It's the direction. It's knowing where we're going. But again, the Two of Swords energy is here because there's no It's not absolutely guaranteed. There's no certainty, there's no proof. And we're starting with the ten, so we got the two of swords and the ten of swords, and I think we have three cards on both sides. So we're gonna read each of these as a pair. And are we gonna do the I Ching? Yep. No, yes, we'll do it. I wanted this to be shorter, but we'll do it. ain't nothing ever short. Why ain't nothing ever short? I made the first video like 16 minutes. I was like, oh, perfect. I'll just keep doing this. So the Ten of Swords and the Two of Swords, it requires something of us to, and I've been talking not a lot, but sacrifice has been something that's been coming up. And what are we willing to sacrifice to get what we want and to be where we want to be? And it's not sacrifice in any terms of, well, it can be. It's honestly, it feels like sacrificing pieces of the shadow to discover our light. And as we rein the shadow in, a light is incomplete without a shadow. It just is. Where there is light, there is shadow. That's just how it is. And so if you reject your shadow, you also reject your light. You can't accept one without the other. And if you try, that's what creates this tense sort of, I want to call it a polarity, but it's just tension in the rubber band, where it's like if we have a rubber band, we can form it into a circle, right? Or a disc. But when we stretch it out, it creates this ovular thing that eventually becomes like tubey. I don't know what that shape is. It's not necessarily rectangular because it's rounded on the ends, right? It becomes a rounded rectangle when we stretch it, and then there's this tension in the middle. And like if we don't move the whole sort of like circular disky rubber band, and a disc is a pinnacle, so that's your world, right? This is it in harmony, and then you create this polarity when you try to stretch it by accepting one and not the other. And when it's like I was talking about the candle, whenever it's like there's this candle, there's this torch, there's this source of light that has its own shadow. But when you reject that shadow, it lies and it mingles with everything that exists outside of that light. And so now it's like you're trying to pull and separate your shadow from this greater collective shadow, which is that card that came out, the Nine of Swords, or Nine of Spades at the bottom of the deck, taking the plunge into an ice cold tank. Dissolution of the self, integration, and separation. That's when we're discovering like what's our shadow, what's our light. And again, without a comprehensive understanding of what your shadow is, it's going to be very hard to come into the power of your light or to know your light, because they're interconnected. You can't have one without the other. It's like having a coin, but you only have one side of the coin. I guess you like shave off the other side or something. I don't know. But if you don't have both sides, it's not worth anything. Who's going to take a coin with only one face? That look fake all day. Anyway, that's what this is. It's reminding me of. And this, oh, I don't want to reveal it. I don't want to reveal it yet. This Ten of Swords, it's giving me the energy of like pinning down your shadow. And it's not, again, you can't necessarily do something like that in an aggressive way, because if you handle your shadow with aggression, your shadow is probably going to win. Because it's in its nature, right? But if you handle your shadow with love and understanding and patience, then you win it over to your light. If you handle it with aggression, it's just going to fight your light even more. And if you ignore it, that it's also going to fight your light even more. So let's get into this Ten of Swords, Two of Swords. 10 and 2. This is Double Lake. And maybe that's what this Two of Swords, Double Lake, is mirth. Maybe that's what this Two of Swords is about. It's like until you get your shadow under control or integrated and healed, It's like she has these two swords, one of shadow, one of light. And she's at this impasse because she can't control the sword of shadow. And so it takes everything within her just to keep her shadow, or that sword of shadow, from acting up and doing things that it shouldn't be doing. Because when you cut something and it bleeds, you're responsible for that injury. And again, it's like it almost doesn't matter how much light you try to embody, because again, when your shadow is separate from your light, it's in the collective shadow, right? Let's say there's this torch here, standing right here. Here's the ring of light, and then there's darkness all around because it's a torch in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the night. If your shadow isn't connected to that torch, let's make it a little easier because it's making that hard for my brain to understand. So there's this torch in the middle of nowhere, right? And then you approach the torch. If your shadow isn't connected to you, it's barred entry at the edge of the light of this torch. And so now your shadow is mingling with the world of darkness outside the light of this torch, right? And I feel like a lot of times we try to approach these torches with absolutely no shadow. And the torch is looking at you like, what kind of being does not cast a shadow? Who are you? What are you? You are not natural. Everything casts shadow. I am light. Everything casts shadow. But if you have your shadow integrated, as you approach the torch, your shadow is behind you. And within the light of the torch, within that radius, both you and your shadow are encompassed. So now your shadow is completely isolated from the world of shadow outside, and you can now pick up the torch as your own. Right? So again, it's like if your shadow is not connected to you, if your shadow is connected to the world of shadow around you, it doesn't matter how bright that light is because there's still darkness on the outside. And I feel like a lot of times it's like we try to drink in light, drink in light, drink in light, never taking care of our shadow. And your shadow is going to get just as strong because your shadow can drink in darkness as you try to drink in light. Anyway, we ain't necessarily going there today. Well, I guess we are going there today because I already went there. Mirth, a joyous exchange, number 58. Inner light shines outward. A small sacrifice, well, there we go with light and sacrifice. A small sacrifice in the moment to ensure greater gains later. An auspicious omen. Proceeding on your endeavor will yield a fortuitous outcome. However, the oracle offers a gentle warning. Joy must be controlled and sincere, and every space of that joy occupied equally with humility. Do not let merriment degenerate to debauchery. To maintain joy, maintain lively intellectual discourse with your equals. Learning on your own is not enough. Amplify that education by studying further with others. To seek joy is to seek discourse that will advance your body of knowledge. Now, in my mind, she's talking about joy and merriment, but it's that like that light and shadow. It's about keeping it in balance. It's about continuously challenging yourself. It's about handling anything that comes up as it comes up. Right? That lively discourse can be between you and you. Or not. It's your life. Let's see where we go next. Ooh, the Hanged Man. And Justice. There's much more than three cards. There's more than three cards, but we'll continue to do this. So next we have the Hangman and Justice. This is interesting. I just want to shift this a little bit. Got an attitude, got lots to do. Oh my gosh, I love that song. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So Justice and the Hangman. This is 11 and 12, ain't it? Yep, the Chancellor and Hangman. This is interesting. So Justice balances scales, and in this deck, the Hangman is a bat, right? But in the card, we see both light and dark. And the bat is awake in the light, and it's asleep in the dark. Because we see the eyes open in the light, but the feet are still attached to whatever in the dark. And like, shouldn't it be opposite? Shouldn't it be awake at night and asleep in the dark? No. It's counterintuitive. It's counterintuitive. Don't you love that word? I feel like it just got silent. Radio silence. What this mean? Well, it could just be the birth of something coming that hasn't been experienced yet before. It could be us waiting for this moment, waiting for this time, not necessarily knowing why we're doing all of the things that we're doing, not knowing why we're being guided. And we feel it's also interesting because dark, light. Now it's light, dark. Justice is the energy of balance. Not only are we keeping our darkness in check, we're also keeping our light in check. And what does it mean for us to keep our light in check? Well, just as there are places where the shadow cannot exist as a shadow, there are places where the light cannot exist as a light. And so it's this yin yang energy where when we're in yin mode, we internalize the yang. And when we're in yang mode, we internalize the yin. And the thing on the outside permits us entry. It's very much like oil and water immersions. It's very much like surfactants. It's the surfactant. And surfactants basically work how detergents work. You have the part of it that is attached to the water, and then you have the part of it that is attached to the oil and the grease. And the grease part attaches to the grease, and the water part attaches to the water when you wash it off. And so, in order to facilitate this interaction between water and oil, we introduce this justice like mediator that can attach to both. So now, when you wash out the oil with water, it's not that the water is just sliding completely off of the oil, because the surfactant, the mediator, is anchored to the oil. But it will also be carried with the water. So as it's carried with the water, it pulls the oil with it, right? But sometimes the opposite is true. Sometimes you have something water based and you want to wash it in an oil. That surfactant, that justice, that mediator in the middle, it's like it shields it from the impact of the outside so you can enter these spaces and not be affected by them. Now, I would say probably like going in the dark is about entering a space and not being affected by that darkness. Maybe that's when you come into some Archangel of Mysteries type of functionality. Maybe we'll see her under all these cards, maybe not. But it's basically like being able to step into the energy of another, and maybe, how am I saying another? Just being able to step into spaces of darkness, not have your light consumed, have your light completely protected, and to not sort of disturb what is already there. So if you choose to use that ability in the way of helping people navigate through their darkness, then it's like you can step in there with them, help them see a way out, and again, you yourself not be completely affected. But when it comes to the light, it just feels like there are just certain spaces where the shadow cannot exist as a shadow. And if you want entry into those spaces of light, you have to have your own shadow under control. It reminds me of the I Ching that was about appeasing appeasing those above you, because it's like if you're seeking an audience with beings of light, there's only so much shadow that they'll tolerate. And then they're like, we think maybe you should go find someone who's more suitable for you, right? Or not. Let's see what this is. This is interesting. Now I'm starting to feel a little nauseous, honestly. But I'm probably hungry. So it's explainable. This is Double Water. Double Water is the Abyss. I believe it's number 29, and I believe we just saw this one recently. I believe we saw it recently. Yep, 29, The Abyss. The Abyss. The ABYSS. Maybe that's how some things survive at the bottom of the ocean. In that space of darkness, they carry the light inside of them that supplies them what everything else has on the surface so readily available. Ooh, I like that. Anglerfish. Hopefully, we ain't eating small fishies, tricking them with our light, because not a very high vibrational thing to do with that. But again, I guess people can do whatever they want to do. This is Pitfall Perils in the Abyss. Exercise caution. There is potential for danger here. Be wary of pitfalls, entrapment, and perils. Nevertheless, fear not, because there is a clear path to safety. Where there is trust and sincerity and a heart serves an important mission, there can be prosperity in spite of the pitfalls. Your endeavor is a worthy cause to proceed with, and so in spite of peril, you must continue and proceed with your endeavor. A journey can bring great rewards. Remain steadfast to the ways of virtue and benevolence in all undertakings. And I feel like that is about kind of sort of, it's like we're in a period of transition where the dark is getting darker. And there's this opportunity for the light inside to shine brighter. We keep that light safe from the darkness of the world. And as we keep our light safe, it'll put us in a position to work with it for long enough to really form a solid connection with it. And if we also do our own internal shadow work, it completes the torch within us, right? A space where the shadow cannot exist as a shadow, it's the space of light. So now we can be these lights because we've gone to the yang side. We've gone to the yang side, and our shadow is in this. It's safely nestled at the heart of this field of light, and so now what we project out is all light, right? And it's that light that clears the fog around us. And as enough lights in this fog clear, it sets the stage for this transferal of power to happen. But if the lights are swallowed by the darkness, then it's almost like we get more darkness. But also, with our relationship, right, with that mediator, that surfactant energy, we can internalize our light and not be affected by the darkness. So there's like this both, and you can do both at the same time. In some spaces you'll be radiant, in some spaces you'll be holding the holding the light in that space. But again, you're holding the light surrounded by your own shadow, your shadow protecting your light from the darkness around it. But that's healthy shadow protecting your light. That's when we are, it's kind of sort of a lot of self-love, honestly, because that's when we decide, what we're going to tolerate and what we're not going to tolerate, and what's fair for us to subject the light within us to. When you heal your shadow, okay, potentially, when you heal your shadow, it's going to fight to defend your light. Your shadow is going to be like, no, you're not coming in here for my light. And if you try, you can catch a tongue of shadow. Back TF you. Right? And the light does the same for the shadow to other lights, because that's like these other Hierophant-ish type lights, or these projections, right? And it's both service to self and service to others, light and dark, light and shadow, you and you, right? So now we have how many cards? 3 more cards. The Eight of Cups, the Seven of Cups, and the Page of Wands. And then we end with the Six of Pentacles. This is interesting. So we're going from the Eight of Cups to the Seven of Cups. So we're leaving 8 cups behind to go for 7. And then we have this Page of Wands. I'm not going to see what the Page of Wands' message is just yet. This could be us going back to something that once brought us joy, it brought us fulfillment. There was a space of light that we walked away from because of our darkness. And now as we try to make our way back to the light, we have to fight through the forest of shadow to reclaim it. This Page of Wands is the light. And this man is walking back into the darkness, following the light of the star being this light that he rejected in the past because of his own sort of things to work through, right? And now here's his journey of working through himself. 7 different aspects of shadow. Every cup is a different one of the 7 deadly sins. And a lot of us don't struggle with all 7, but the ones that we do struggle with are going to be the ones that we really have to work through. For example, if you're someone who is very jealous of others, then you might have to work through envy and appreciate what you have and appreciate your own journey and not be so focused on what everyone else has. If you're someone who is unmotivated and not really doing anything, then you might have to work through sloth, right? And become a more active participant in your own life and start to call the shots. If you're someone who suffers from wrath, maybe you're going to be learning patience and understanding, because it's like a school of fish. Again, when we're approaching those above, if you interject wrath in the space of peace, it chases out the peace. Now, either the peace could leave you in your own wrath, or it just creates discordance and disharmony in the situation where there was harmony. Either way, it will chase out the peace. There's a helicopter. Y'all hear that? Hold on, let me make sure this thing ain't muted. Because the airplane yesterday was my reminder. No, Chino was my reminder yesterday. There's a helicopter. Okay. It's not muted, thankfully. I mean, if it was muted, then I'm just talking to myself, and that's fine. Not everything is meant to be shared right now. A lot of things are actually meant to be discovered. But that's what this is, right? We thought we were heading in one direction. I think that's like we thought we were headed towards a 10 of cups, but we discovered it was only 8. And so now we have to turn right back around because maybe we rejected one of the options that we had because of one of these 7 deadly sins. And again, we're going back to find that light. It was a space of light that amplified our shadow. It was a space of light that we weren't yet ready for. It was a space of light that the world quite wasn't yet ready for, because honestly, it helps fuel that energy of transition. The message will be the Ace of Pentacles. I love it. Yeah. Behind the Ace of Pentacles is the 5 of Cups. But it clarifies literally what I was just talking about. The world wasn't yet ready for it. And the fact that you walked away from this light and now have to go through your shadow to reclaim it, to come into this new world, or you don't, and you choose that world, whatever world you choose. It's like if there's no sun, there's no earth. If there's no sun, there's no anything. There's only darkness. And in the space of darkness, nothing can exist except darkness. Everything is born of that void. And like I said, the sun is shining in 2 skies right now, but we only see one. It's like the sun itself is programming. It's not programming. But it is programming because without the light, we're not able to perceive it. Without the light, we're not able to experience it. Projections, holograms are hard light. It's light that goes so far, and then it creates this whatever for you to see it, right? Light kind of sort of extends and expands forever. But yeah, the world wasn't yet ready. And your journey is impacting and empowering the transition right now. Choose the world you wish to live in. And then we end with this Two of Swords. In this deck, we see the sun and the moon in this eclipse, the light and the shadow occupying the same space. Iron sharpens iron, though. So over here, I'm going to read the Ace of Pentacles and the Two of Swords. This is interesting. Things have been getting real interesting here lately, as Pluto's gone direct. And Mars retrograde is squaring Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter. Jupiter will be next. You're next, Jupiter. Something smells like oil, like a lot of oil, and it's starting to turn my stomach a little bit. My stomach is getting so, my body is so like, bruh, like when we gonna start eating better? Like, what are you putting in me? I'm like, body, what are you talking about? We've been eating like this forever. I like meat. Body, please, no. Body, no. Okay, anyway. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just a little silly. So this is Lake Over Earth, is what we're going to be ending with. Lake Over Earth is Assembly number 45, and I think this might be the message that I was talking about. Or actually, I don't think it is, but it's one that's very similar to the one that I was talking about. I think I actually talked about this one yesterday or the day before. Assembly and hold together. A leader rises among them. You are destined to gather the people in congregation and unite them under your purpose. But take care that when you do, you are also prepared to handle the strife that is bound to arise when people congregate. Sharpen your weapons. They will be needed to battle the dangers ahead. This is your forewarning. Have a contingency plan in place. Sacrificing, their sacrifice again, your personal interests to follow a divine guiding force is beneficial. Choose progress. Choose that North Node world. Choose to cross the threshold before the snake lets go of its tail and all Ragnarok breaks loose. Right? And it's interesting because in Ragnarok is kind of sort of started because of the death of Baldur, which was a god, basically like the god of light in Norse mythology. What's his name? Hod was tricked by Loki into killing Baldur, and Baldur was immortal. He was impervious to, well, they were all immortal, right? Well, you think he was impervious to everything, and so everyone would have fun. They would like bring all of their weapons to Baldur, and nothing would hit him. Loki did some snooping around and found out that Baldur's only weakness was mistletoe. And so Loki gave Hod arrows tipped in mistletoe or in the poison of mistletoe or whatever. Hod shot Baldur with the arrow thinking that Baldur would be fine, and Baldur died. And the entire mood of the party tanked. And Baldur will be avenged at Ragnarok. The death of light is the cause of Ragnarok. And Baldur is actually supposed to come back to life after Ragnarok. After Jormungandr releases its tail. Funny how Hod was convinced by Loki. Oh yeah, this is harmless. Yeah, yeah, like we're all playing. And then Baldur dies. Then the light is gone. No more light. Everyone's blaming Hod. Hod's like, well, Loki told me to do it, and everybody like, Loki is a trickster 8. Loki is trickster 8F. Why are you listening to Loki? I wouldn't do anything Loki told me to do. And Baldur's dead, so he ain't gonna come back. So, well, he will eventually, but so we're ending with Mountain Over Water, I believe. Yeah, Mountain Over Water is gonna be our overall energy, and let's see where it leaves us. Let's see where it leaves us. Number 4, inexperience. Ooh. So, by the way, assembly was not what I thought it was. Experience and naivete. You are focused on the wrong inquiry. Divination does not seek out the inexperienced fool. The inexperienced fool seeks out divination. The divination here shall give no further information unless the inexperienced fool can return with the proper sincerity. You must find the right teacher to learn the right attitude. Be aware of your inexperience. Ignorance is pervasive. Yet to err is not evil. It is naivete and a result of inexperience. Do not seek out divination again until you have mastered the teaching. And if we extrapolate a little bit, I feel like sometimes that can speak to how we as humans have this tendency to want to check up and make sure that whatever we are going for is still there, right? And so, maybe we seek out divination, maybe we seek out reader after reader after reader. There's that Ace of Swords again. To tell us one thing, but it's like, are you even invested in as much as your own growth and healing and evolution as you are about, whatever else? Maybe some reconciliation with the Three of Cups? Or is it just all about what lies on the other side? Are you not doing what you need to do for you? Because if you're not doing what you need to do for you, you'll never get to the other side. It's about gaining experience. It's about growing, right? And not staying that Daughter of Wands forever. That takes me back to assembly, which was like, sacrifice your own personal interests to follow what the divine has laid out for you. Ooh, that was the World card. There's the Tower. There's the Three of Wands. There's the Judgment. Ooh. There's the Five of Wands. There's the Emperor. There we go. The Star and the Father of Wands. This is Aquarius and Leo energy. Aquarius and Leo are the polarity of, what is that, like community, I guess? Aquarius is more like business, professional, organizational, larger social dynamic community, and Leo is more personal, interpersonal, friendly, like your friends, your family, the people you consider closer. Aquarius would be more like co-workers, associates. If you're on a committee, then committee members. And like, one is the star, one is the sun. Aquarius is the star, it's further away. Leo is the sun, it's a lot closer. Things are close enough. Well, some planets are a little bit further out, but things are close enough to Leo energy to be warmed by it and to have the entire sky lit up by that light instead of just a pinprick or, a specific coordinate of the sky, right? And there are stars in the sky that have their own solar systems. But this is that it's a need to rebalance, I guess, what we really dedicate ourselves to. And if there's something that you're wishing for, you have to travel to that wish. If you're wishing on a star, that's a star that's probably not in your solar system, and it's probably going to require you to go to the solar system of that star. This star is the other sky that the sun is shining in right now. The sun is shining in two skies right now, but we only experience one with that Ace of Pentacles. This is that other world, right? This is the potential of the world that we have to come into if we properly navigate the challenges that we face right now. And then with the King of Wands, Father of Wands energy, I was just talking about the Kings. So this is about self-expression. This is about how you go about getting the things that you want. Because the manner in which you go about getting what you want Like that energy influences and impacts the thing, right? If you're going after something out of spite or rage, then it's going to influence what it is when you get it, right? If you get it, depending on what the thing is, spite and rage may be too heavy for you to actually hold it. And so now you're going after something, trying to prove something to somebody instead of coming after it or going after it and from a space of like self improvement and just bettering yourself and wanting more for yourself. It's like I'm trying to prove to this person that blah 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 whatever, and it's not happening. Like, how are they supposed to be jealous of me if I don't have whatever? How are they supposed to be upset that they left me if I don't whatever? And it's like, girl, like, but what about you? And it's fine for that to motivate you initially, but eventually at the end of the day, you should start doing things for you, because if you're constantly doing things with somebody else in mind, it's like you haven't really taken control over your own life. You're just like driving your life around the block of the person that you're trying to get the attention of, when there's literally a whole world outside of that one block in this one neighborhood that might not even be that great. Take it as it resonates. And the Father of Wands actually came out yesterday at some point, because I was like, oh, that's the bolt of lightning that hit the middle wand at the Eight of Wands. And the Eight of Wands in this deck, it's actually an Ace of Wands, but because of the shadows that it casts as it's struck by that bolt of lightning, we get the other wands, right? Right, right? Right. What's at the top of the deck? Archangel of Healing. I love that. The Archangel of Healing was at the top of the deck the whole time, which was technically the bottom since I had it, flipped over. Archangel of Healing right there. She will prepare you. And then there's the Page of Cups at the cut. Stronghold of the Grail. What? Stronghold of the Grail. What? Stronghold of the Grail. Okay. Let's get this done. It's time for Patrick to make some moves. Honestly, my two, I used to have Gluttony as one, but last year, when I was barely able to afford to eat, took care of my gluttony problem. I still do. I'm working on sloth right now, and working on it. I'm proving that I'm out of the realm of sloth right now. And that's one of my, or I feel like honestly that's the one of the 7 that I really have to worry about is sloth. It used to be sloth and gluttony, and then when I was really little, it was wrath and sloth. But wrath resolved itself by the end of elementary school, and then I traded wrath for gluttony. Kept sloth pretty much the whole time though. And when you can be honest with your shadow like that, then you know what it is that you have to do. With the Magician on the bottom of the deck, it requires all tools at our disposal, which is our shadow and our light, in conjunction with everything else, right? So, come on. Final message from the SKT, please. 7 of pennies. Bottom of the deck is Judgment. Dong, dong, dong. And we see the Tree of Life and Judgment. Malkuth is in hand, right? There's the Lion for Leo. Judgment is the energy of fire. Also Pluto, I believe. Yeah, because Uranus is the Fool, Neptune is the Hangman, Pluto is Judgment. Scorpio is a pretty fiery water sign, low-key. I mean, Mars is its ruler, so, we got the moon, and then we got Neptune / Jupiter, and then we got Mars and Pluto. Anyway, Scorpio energy. Taurus energy. Right? 7 of Pentacles. This is the 3rd decan of Taurus. 7 of Pentacles is Saturn in Taurus, and then we have Capricorn with the demon. devil energy. And in his horns, we see the South Node. In the Nocturne, what's at the top of the deck? If it was the Nocturne, that would be so convenient, but I don't think it is. Oh, okay. Well, we'll pull the top three. The Necromancer, the Moon, is at the top of the deck. Then we have the Ace of Pentacles again, and the Knight of Swords. Now, last time we saw the Knight of Swords, this mask actually gives the Knight of Swords the capability to peer into worlds that it cannot see without it. It gives it this sort of spiritual sensitivity to view into the world of potentiality because of the energies here. And the mask covers the throat, the third eye, and the crown, right? And so it's about peering into this unformed space. The unformed lands is the element of air here. It's about peering into this unformed space, seeing the potential that it provides, and on your side acting in alignment to get there. Now, a lot of the ways that we went about getting things and acquiring things in the past was devil energy. It was very much taking from someone else, using people, not caring about the consequences as long as we're fulfilled. It was completely fueled by self-interest. And it's very hard for us to imagine a world that can exist without self-interest. But Spirit, with this Knight, is giving us the ability to see that if we continue to act in that energy, the world will continue to be what it is. And it's time for a switch up. It's time for a change up. It's time to change the seeds that we plant and to change the way that we go about caring for them. Right? And again, it's a world that we can't see yet. But if the moon is there in that world, the sun is also there. We just can't see the sun. But if we can see the moon, the sun has to be there because the moon reflects sunlight. If there's no sun, we wouldn't see the moon. Right? So something got to be over there. Let's I Ching this. And with Judgment at the bottom of the deck, and the Holy See behind it, with the Corruptor, yeah. And the New World Order, okay, we're going to take that as well. And then the Ace of Cups is there behind this. The Ace of Cups was the inspiration. It was the Ace of Cups and the Archangel of Healing was the inspiration for the Spiritual Sensory Deprivation tank, where we go in, our light is dissolved, our shadow is dissolved, who we are as a person completely is dissolved, and we can separate our light and our shadow from the garbage that other people projected, sort of poured into us that we took on as we grew older. Because, when you're in your developmental years and things happen to you, you develop in a way that is a response to the stimulus or stimuli in your environment. But you developing these response mechanisms to the stimuli in your environment does not mean that those response mechanisms are a part of you. And that's about discovering who you are outside of the reactionary individual that's a product of the environment that you were raised in, or whatever, right? Devil energy. Who you are outside of that devil energy. And we got the devil and the Hierophant. Neither one of these cards in this deck is great, because the Hierophant stands before that gate to Spirit. Like, oh, you don't need to go beyond the gate of Spirit. I have ventured beyond the gate of Spirit for you. Let me tell you what Spirit said. And it's like, this card is a call to discover the voice of Spirit for ourselves. It also talks about their audience. And so this is here. Judgment is with this Ace of Cups. Or the New World Order is with the Ace of Cups. Right? 2021. So what's being judged right now is sort of the state that mankind has fallen into under the guidance of this Hierophant energy. More or less. And I've talked about it enough. I'm not necessarily going to go into it today. But here's the Ace of Cups behind this new world. Right? And if the world is a pinnacle, if the world is Earth, it needs water to survive. whole world has basically become an emotional spiritual wasteland. Not necessarily spiritual wasteland, because there are many spiritual oases, but you can't feed an entire world off of like a few oases. That's not enough water, right? But it has sort of become an emotional wasteland because of the lack of water, because of the lack of caring about people outside of your immediate vicinity, because of the rewarding of personal interest and how lucrative it is. Anyway, let's just get into this, shall we? I think this might be Double Earth. Yeah, this is Double Earth. Double Earth is Divine Yin. Yep, number 2, Supportive Power. Supportive Power, Divine Yin. In the beginning there is darkness and confusion, yet deep in that darkness attainment awaits. The way to success for you is by being receptive and yielding. Yielding is the true way to lead. No need for greater ambition at this time. Be content and at peace with what you possess. Harness the force and power of soft earth. Like the earth, the sage accepts the character of all, for better or for worse, and nurtures all with compassion without exception. And nurturing with compassion does not come at the expense of loving yourself. Nurturing with compassion is not you giving everything that you have to a situation that requires more than what you have to give. Sometimes compassion is putting someone in a space to take care of themselves. It's putting people in a space to not be so dependent upon you for things that they need to begin to discover within them. Because there are certain things that we just can't give to other people. And it's not being judgmental, it's actually being wise. And it's actually being kind from a certain perspective, right? Just like how we can enable people that we love because we love them, but us enabling them keeps them in that situation that they're in that no one wants them to be in. Sometimes, tough love is necessary. Sometimes you got to hold a little intervention and be like, you know what, we love you too much for us to continue to support you in keeping yourself in this space that doesn't serve you, where we don't know when your last day is going to be, and no one knows when their last day is going to be, but when you're doing certain things, you really don't know, right? People are really quick to be like, oh, we could die whenever. I could die crossing the street. I could die on accident, so why not risk death? And it's like, okay, if that's what you want to do with your life, fine. Fair. But I'm not the type of person to tempt the hands of fate, really. That's why I don't mess with a lot of stuff. Because I ain't trying to have, I'm like, no, life is hard enough. I don't need to make my life any harder than it already is. I'm actually trying to make mine easier, more bountiful, and beautiful. Thank you. But yeah, that's what I got today. Have a good one, everyone, whenever you see this, and I hope you're acting in alignment to make it all better. It's time to get to work. Apparently, well, it's time for me to get to work. Maybe it's time for you to get to work as well. Maybe it ain't time for you to get to work. Maybe you already know what you're doing. Maybe you don't know what you're doing, and it ain't for you to know what you're doing. You just do the thing that you know you need to do in front of you right now. Step by step, day by day, moment by moment, second by second sometimes. We get there, right? As long as we try. Nothing beats a failure but to try. If you never try, you'll always fail. And they say that you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. And I would be like, well, I miss 100% of the shots that I do take as well. So I might as well save the energy. I told y'all, sloth was my thing, man. Sloth was my thing back in the day. But she's got to go now. He's got to go now. We got places to be. Sloth, sorry. You can go the way of the wrath. You can go the way of the gluttony. I'll remember to take it easy. I won't work too hard, so we'll compromise, Sloth. I won't work too hard. I'll make sure that I save room for play. But right now, Daddy's got to go to work. Ooh, I've never said that in my life before. That sounded disgusting, but it is so true. Bye.